Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be Military Hollywood Industrial Complex Part 5. I do encourage you to look at the other 4 modules if you haven't already. They run about 20 minutes. Anyway, let's get busy. The most important word in the title of this video is the word military, because if you haven't already figured it out, virtually all, if not 100%, 95% of the murders going on in Beverly Hills and Holmby Hills and West Hollywood and Hollywood Way and up in San Fernando Valley are all committed by military black ops teams. In the case of the Sharon Tate, Abigail Folger, and Leno Labianca murders, that was a NATO military team that used the M7 bayonet attached to the M16 rifle. Same setup that was used for the Lai Massacre 18 months earlier on March 16th, 1968. Now, it's very important for you to just let go of all the programming that you've had for 50 years regarding all of these murders, because they're military. There's just no doubt about it. If you look into them all, you will see the frightening similarities in all of them. And you'll notice that the killers always get away. Always. The only people who may be arrested and arraigned and, of course, convicted with no defense ever offered are the scapegoats. Sirhan, who did not murder Robert Francis Kennedy. Did not. Robert Kennedy was murdered by a Lockheed employee of the Skunk Works top secret division in Burbank by the name of Thane Eugene Caesar, a Filipino gentleman who worked that night only at the Ambassador Hotel as a security guard, one and only crack at being a security guard, who stood at Robert Kennedy's right elbow one night only on June 6th, 1968. Never to work as a security guard again. And he carried a .22 caliber pistol, same make and model as did Sirhan, who fired bullets at the ceiling and may have fragged a couple of other people as well in the crowded pantry room of the Ambassador dump of a hotel on Wilshire Boulevard. Anyway, the Sharon Tate murders were all performed by at least 12, if not 16, professional NATO-trained soldiers, all equipped with the M16 rifle and the bayonet, which can be easily attached or detached with the little click device. And they also were armed with other weapons like chloroform or stun guns. Very professional. They all got away, and they never caught the murderers. They caught, Charlie Miles Maddox, who was under 24/7 supervision for the 2.5 years that he was out of federal prison. They always knew where to get him. They did arrest virtually all the Manson people just 7 days after Sharon Tate's murder. You do know that, right? At the Spawn Ranch, they arrested 26 vagrants who I believe were driven in by bus or car, at around 6 a.m. in the morning. Then they were all arrested at about 6:20 a.m. in the morning, Saturday morning, which would have been 1 week after August 9th. That would have been the weekend of the Woodstock Music Festival back in the East Coast way in upstate New York. But they were having a little party out there in San Fernando Valley at the CBS Disney Studios George Spawn Ranch, Iverson Ranch. And there they are, rounding them all up about 6:20 to 6:30 a.m. right after they got out of their cars. They're all arrested. Charlie Miles Maddox, that the media wants you to think his name is Manson, and then Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, Leslie Van Houten. They all have CIA cover names, and another 22 other people who I guess were not needed in the Manson hoax family. Don't you think that's a little unusual that you would have 4 of the 5 killers arrested within 7 days of the murder of Cielo Drive, and then they're all released the next day? I mean, they're released by Monday morning. I think there was no arraignment on Monday morning for them. They were being arrested for for suspected burglary and or grand theft auto, but no charges were pressed, so it was catch and release for the so-called fake Manson family. Anyway, what I wanted to tell you is that my last video, part 4, we touched on the murders of Sal Mineo and Jack Cassity, who was his neighbor right around the corner, literally within 200 yards of him. And don't you think it's more than suspicious that Jack Cassidy's apartment building address is 1121 La Cienega Boulevard, 1121, whereas the address for Connie Montie and the sidewalk where Art Linkletter's youngest baby daughter, Diane, was face planted after being tossed out of her 6th floor of her Shoreham Towers, the address there was 1211, 1211. As opposed to 1121. 1121 versus 1211. Isn't that interesting? That there's 4 digits. There are 3 digits number 1 and 1 digit number 2. 1121 and 1211. And Connie Montie lived at 1221. Ed Durston, who was the murderer, I believe, of Connie Montie, and the murderer who threw Diane Linkletter off of her 6th floor apartment, he lived at 1211 North Horn. Diane Linkletter actually lived on Shoreham Drive. It's the side street. But her apartment was facing North Horn Avenue, so that when she was ejected from her 6th floor window, she landed on North Horn Avenue, directly across the street from the CIA apartment building address of 1211 North Horn Avenue. I think it's about 16 apartment units in that building, and I would say that they're all 100% reserved for CIA operatives. All right, so anyway, when you look into Sal Mineo, of course, you realize he was in a Columbo crime movie episode. The episode was entitled the episode that was entitled A Case of Immunity, and it was aired on February 12th, 1976, and Sal Mineo played Rahman Habib, who was an assistant to the first secretary for Zwyer Embassy in Los Angeles, and the Zwyer Embassy chief was committing some murders in order to stoke the flames of a leadership turnover in his country, Zwyer, which is a Middle East fictional country. Anyway, Sal Mineo plays the character of Rahman Habib, who participates in this hoax burglary at the embassy consul, and then is later murdered. That Sal Mineo character, Rahman Habib, is murdered by the head counsel, and Columbo has to crack that case. How ironic that 1 year after that film is released, that Sal Mineo himself is murdered on February 12th, 1976. Remember, I just told you that A Case of Immunity for Columbo is aired